Welcome to Decolonizing Black History. I'm Valerie S. Thomas, and I'm going to take you on this journey during this course so that you can teach Black history in a way that is in truth, and it helps us establish justice, and it helps us grow because of the truth. So there are three things we want to look into. So the three things we want to look into are why it's important to teach decolonized history. First of all, Black history has historically been shaped by colonial viewpoints and their narratives, right? Meaning that Europeans or white people have allowed, I guess I could say, Black history to be taught, as long as it's taught in a way that is gratifying to them, a way that is okay with them. And it's important that we understand that and we see where that has happened so that we can deconstruct those things. So some evidence of colonized history, our history that is centered from a European or white supremacist narrative, is you will see the erasure of the ancient African civilizations. You may not see that. As a teacher, I ensure in all my classes when we're going to be talking about American history, Black history, world history, we always look at the ancient Sudanite kingdoms before we go into any other parts of African American history, because it's important that students know about what was happening before contact with the Europeans and before American slavery is going to begin. The next thing is this civilizing myth that we may come across. What is that? That's basically colonial narratives that depict European intervention as necessary for Black progress, right? They ignore, again, those ancient kingdoms and how people from all over the world were trying to come to Timbuktu to learn and study. They ignore the agency of Black communities from ancient times to now, okay? And then the next way that you may see colonizing Black history is the whitewashing of resistance. That's they are going to downplay certain people. Like, you won't see a lot of Malcolm X, you won't see a lot of Black Panthers. They are going to soften or omit things from Black resistance. You will see Martin Luther King, you will see nonviolent protests, you will see a lot of that. Boycotts where our sit-ins where the students are beat up on and things like that, that kind of passive resistance played up. And you will see like the erasure of more violent maybe protest or different protests from that nonviolent path. Again, you're going to see that distorted civil rights history. So you're going to see, again, Martin Luther King, you're going to see Rosa Parks, but you may not see Fannie Lou Hamer, you may not see Stokely Carmichael, and other people who were not for nonviolence, right? And they believed in self-defense, okay? So what's the importance of it other than knowing the truth, right? Because the truth is so important, right? We don't want to be telling fictitious stories. We don't want to leave people out, but teaching decolonized Black history or learning decolonized Black history helps restore our agency. So it helps us restore agency in ourselves currently, right? So when highlighting Black people as active agents in their history, it helps us want to be active agents in our history, right? Teaching the lesser known people the people that weren't always in the headlines, the people that weren't always being interviewed. It allows us to say that even though I'm not popular, even though I'm not from this wealthy family or whatever it may be, I can still make a difference. Okay. We have the ability to change, to make change, to cause change. And that's one of the benefits of teaching decolonized Black history. And that may be a reason why the powers that be try to stop us from teaching the truth when it comes to Black history. It gives a fuller narrative. When we acknowledge the impact of different groups of African Americans that are not always in mainstream history, that allows a more rounder understanding of what happened. It allows us to see that we're not monolithic people. And yes, there is these groups dealing with the struggle this way. There was another group dealing with the struggle this way. There's another group, there's another group, there's another group. And it helps us get this well-rounded picture of what's happening. We get to see the revolutionaries. We get to see the passive people. We get to see the all types of people just handling and living life the way that they saw fit during this time, or the way that they could. It allows us to challenge systemic oppression today, because we're seeing people who did that, right? It helps us dismantle these racist institutions, because we see how they were forming, and then we could see like, oh, they're trying to do that again. We could see that, so we can be prepared. We could see how people fought and what needs to be done in today's day and age. And it's teaching decolonized Black history is very empowering to the student. Allow them to see themselves reflected in history. That's why I like to do a lot of local history. Like, that happened in your backyard. That happened in your city. You walk down this road where this happened. Okay. So you allow them to see and relate to history, so that it's not this far away thing that has nothing to do with them, that this not a class we just got to get through and we hate this, make it relevant to them. And that's what decolonizing Black history does. Okay. So sometimes you got to teach them the real, and that's not what always the powers that be want the kids to learn. Okay. They want them to learn the good and the beautiful about Thomas Jefferson. But no, we need to get real about Thomas Jefferson, right? Did he do great things? Yes. Did he do horrible things? Yes. Okay. Is this humanity? The next thing I want to go into is how to protect yourself. This is a very interesting time to be a history teacher. If you're a history teacher, or to be teaching English, where you're involving Black history. And I want to make sure that you are protecting yourself, because you can get in so much trouble. You got to be careful. And it's a crazy thing, because it's just teaching social studies, right? But the way they're banning books, the way they're trying to get you, like, you just got to be very careful. So that's one of the things I want to talk about. You need to know your rights. You need to know your state laws. You need to know your district laws. You need to know the rules of your organization. You need to know the climate of your culture, the climate and culture of your school, of your students. Like, you should know if they support certain things, and if they're not having what you're saying, you should know that. And then you can take your own risk at that point if you want to, but you just need to know and be aware of who you're teaching. Okay. Make sure you're using your standards, right? Use your standards-based teaching. You need to frame your lessons around your standards. So that's always a good way to protect yourself. Try to use diverse perspectives. Using primary sources is great. Try to use both sides so that you're not accused of being biased. Again, make sure you're using those primary sources and historical documents and firsthand accounts to support your discussions. and your lessons. Document everything. Make sure you're keeping your lesson plans, student work, all that stuff. There may be pushback from the different things that you teach. Let students explore and ask questions instead of sometimes they will come to viewpoints on their own. So allow them to discover and ask questions and things like that. Sometimes you don't always have to bring stuff to them. Sometimes they can, as they're doing their research and researching for your lessons, they will come up with ideas and understandings for themselves. And so that's another way to handle things. And definitely work with your colleagues that are like-minded educators. I think that's it for week 1. There's some homework for you inside of the Google Classroom. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments. And there's discussion questions, there's an assignment, and I also have for you some lesson plans that are already ready for you to start allowing your kids to do some inquiry-based lessons that will help them really get into this fun, exciting, sometimes many times tragic type of history, but it will be fun for you as well. So I'm so glad that you are here in this class. If you have any questions for me or comments, make sure you leave them, and I will see you for week 2.